The CMO Confidential podcast is a proud member of the I Hear Everything podcast network. Looking to launch or scale your podcast? I Hear Everything delivers podcast production, growth, and monetization solutions that transform your words into profit. Ready to give your brand a voice? Then visit iheareverything.com.
Welcome to CMO Confidential, the podcast that takes you inside the drama, decisions, and choices that go with being the head of marketing. Hosted by five-time CMO Mike Linton.
Typeface has completely changed the process of large campaign executions. Everyone knows AI can help with images and headlines, but the real impact is making the leap from a creative brief to a live, multi-channel, large campaign at speed. Typeface just announced its marketing orchestration engine, the first platform built to automate campaign workflows. You can roll out campaigns that used to take months in just a few hours. Typeface uses agentic AI to orchestrate the entire process, taking one campaign and instantly orchestrating it into thousands of personalized experiences across ads, email, and video. Major brands like ASICS and Post Holdings are already transforming their marketing with Typeface. See how to move from brief to personalized campaigns in hours, not months, at typeface.ai/CMO. Welcome, marketers, advertisers, and those who love them, to Chief Marketing Officer Confidential. CMO Confidential is a program that takes you inside the drama, the decisions, and the politics that go with being the head of marketing at any company in what is one of the most scrutinized jobs in the executive suite. I'm Mike Linton, the former Chief Marketing Officer of Best Buy, eBay, Farmers Insurance, and Ancestry.com, here today with my guest, Joe Perello. Today's topic: the credibility challenge. Thoughts on authenticity in an artificial marketplace. Now, Joe is the founder of Props, a performance-based creator marketing platform. We'll talk about that in a little bit. He's on the board of New York Cruise Lines and served as the first and only CMO of New York City, working for Michael Bloomberg. He also worked for the New York Yankees twice. If you need advice on the Big Apple, Joe is your man. This is his second time on the show. Welcome back, Joe.
Good to see you, Mike. Good to be here. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Joe, let's start with the descriptor of the marketplace. Just tell us what's going on. A description of the marketplace. Tell us what's going on in the marketplace. Making content has never been easier. Getting attention has never been harder. And the barriers to entry that used to protect brands from challengers have never been more easily breached. Give us your take.
I think people are calling it distraction, like the consumer is distracted.
Yeah.
Another way to look at it is that they're actually disciplined. And if production costs have come down, like you've said, right? Distribute, it's easier to get messages out there. But that didn't also correlate to a rise in credibility, right? Consumers know the difference. And they're, in some cases, they're sort of scrolling past what we call polish. Right. And
are you saying, Joe, that the consumer has developed a better filter than they used to have?
Yes.
And are they applying that filter at more speed? Is that what you're saying too?
It's almost innate. It's almost innate because the number of messages, right, is increasing, and what you're seeing is increasing, and your filter is almost automatic. Right. So I mentioned what's not scaling is credibility, right? So production scales, distribution scales. What's not scaling is credibility. So it's not really that attention is scarce. It's belief, right? It's belief that is suffering because so many people are seeing so many institutionally produced, okay, not in all cases, right? None of this is absolute. None of what I'm saying is absolute, obviously. But they are one theory I have is that one of the reasons why creator marketing, right, across the globe
Yeah.
is growing so fast is because sort of people understand innately that the creator has some skin in the game.
Hey, before we go to creator marketing,
Okay.
can we say so what you're saying is the consumer is much more discriminatory.
Yeah.
They have way more choice of what to look at, and I think the same is the true for actually just watching content on TV,
Yeah.
or streaming. I guess I should say that they have way more filters for what they're going to spend their time on now, and that has just translated over into all the marketing they see as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like a automatic reaction.
Is it the same in B2B and B2C, or
I think it's
is it different?
structurally the same in B2B, but you could broadly say that B2C is like about identity and about lifestyle, and B2B is more about domain level expertise and subject matter expertise, and more about sort of your peers validate this more so than it is in consumer marketing. But in both cases, it's all about the trust. Like in B2B marketing, a founder cares about what another founder says more than, what your white paper says.
So we'll go to creator marketing right after we say this. In essence, you're saying consumers' trust is decreasing at speed, right?
Yeah, it's the credibility is not rising with distribution and the ability to produce messages really quickly. And people are sensitive to this. They're sensitive to institutional messages. And look, Mike, this part is not a theory. Trust in brands and institutions has been declining since like 1968. And Pew did research on this, and they track it. Pew Research and tracking it since 1968. Just generally speaking, people don't trust brands as much, and they don't trust institutions as much. And there's all
Joe, are you
kinds of
kind of throwing out?
theories.
So is marketing falling apart here because of this trust thing?
Well,
I know
do
you're
it the
going to
old
put a
way.
big pitch on creators, but you look at the decline of all the old marketing tools and the rise of some of the new tools, some of which are hard to measure, whether it's TikTok or whatever, influencers, creators.
Yeah.
If this trust is collapsing, is there still a trust reservoir out there, or do consumers have to be re-earned?
Well, I mean, look, again, I'm not saying this in absolute terms, right? Because there are great brands that make great commercials and we all love them, so I'm not saying, oh, throw out the 30-second spot and all that, that's all baloney in my mind. Like it matters how you do things. What is true today is that consumers are more skeptical. They will not trust brands or institutions out of the gate like maybe our parents did, okay, or even we did when we were growing up. And there are new ways to reach folks that the old playbook, the old creative playbook doesn't work. You've got to find new ways to unlock people. Now, I know I keep reverting to the creator marketing industry because I've been immersed in it in the last, almost a decade now. So I'm only giving you this like from that.
You're right on your talking points, Joe. You're right on them.
I know. I can't give you, like, I haven't been the CMO of Best Buy, right? I haven't been that. So my comments are skewed more towards the industry that I've been in the last decade, and that has been the creator marketing.
But you're also saying, I think in your theory, and also in the research we were talking about earlier, is people are becoming more, they start from a position of, you have to earn my trust all over again, unless you've already established it and you're a big brand, or I already have experience with you. But you're also saying consumers are more trusting of AI agents. Is that right?
It's interesting. This is interesting theory. The theory is that the perception of AI, if you use it, it's that it's optimizing for you personally, right? When you engage with, at least with ChatGPT, right? When you engage with ChatGPT, like it wants to please you. Now you can certainly tell it not to. Like you can tell it, you know, be tough on me, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah,
the
stop
default
telling me
mode,
every question I ask is so good.
I know, I know.
Um,
But the default mode, like broadly speaking, the perception is that AI is optimizing for me. And therefore, the theory is people trust AI more so because it's seen as an optimizer and not a persuader.
So,
Right?
so
That's a
Joe,
very big, very important distinction. Are you optimizing for me or are you trying to persuade me is so different.
We are taking a short break from this show for a word from our sponsor, Typeface.
To orchestrate workflows across channels, meet Arc Agents, your AI teammates handling complexity so you can focus on what matters. All within a reimagined workspace where you and AI create as one. Spaces works the way you do. Create anything, from documents to videos to entire campaigns, at scale. Our agents help you craft campaign storyboards, powered by your Brand Hub, giving you the perfect starting point. Transform one asset into countless variations for every audience and market. Join industry leaders already reimagining their content lifecycle with Typeface. Welcome to marketing's next chapter, where every story finds its voice.
Now, back to our discussion.
I think this is a really interesting point, and let me push on a little bit. So what you're saying is, if you didn't have AI and you didn't have all this explosion of social media, consumers would be still where they were, or is this just a whole nother level of trust that has emerged and it's pushed everything else down?
I mean, who knows? Who knows
Yeah.
if we didn't have AI? I think the trust issue, if you're asking me about trust broadly, is it was declining before the PC,
Yeah.
right? It was declining before the internet, before the cell phone, before the smartphone, and before AI. These are not the triggers. They certainly could be the amplifiers,
Yeah.
right? But they are not the triggers of why trust in our culture has been declining. Part of it could be that the old world media became skeptical. I'm not saying today. Today's media, very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very different than the world of journalism that I grew up in and you grew up in. And that, I think, played a role in the perception of, do I trust my leaders, the people leading these companies? I think that played a role. That has now been totally thrown apart because we're all seeing the news that the algorithm thinks we want to see. So it's different.
So what you're saying, if I'm getting it right, is the objectivity meter, AI has become much more consumers are viewing AI, and then we'll talk about creator marketers and influencers, as more objective than a lot of the historical marketing stuff they used to see. And so they are starting to trust, other sources of information a lot more than they used to.
I think so. I think I'm speaking about the perception. I don't know what the actual truth is, but the perception is that if you believe this AI agent is optimizing for your benefit, then you're likely to trust them more than you are. So yes, it's messed up as that sounds.
All right. So let's tell us the difference between, tell our listeners the difference between creator marketing, influencer marketing, and celebrity marketing. I feel like I should open with a joke. An influencer, celebrity,
Yeah.
and a creator marketer walk into a bar. Tell us the difference of those three things in your mind.
Yeah.
And we can talk about how to manage them as marketers.
I think the dimension to look at it is through risk, right? So if influencers monetize reach, right? Because you're paying them to do two things: make content and distribute it,
Right.
right? Creators are monetizing fame, right? Fame acquired through other channels like acting or music or something like that, or
being on CMO
Right.
Confidential.
or
Yeah.
being on this podcast.
Yeah.
Creators are monetizing their credibility, right? Their subject matter expertise. They don't really bring followers to the table. They bring expertise to the table. So influencers can go from brand to brand to brand to brand to brand, right?
Yeah.
Celebrities are diversified across acting, singing, different sports teams, and new movies coming out. Like, their platform is separate from what we're talking about here. And creators they're concentrated, right? Their domain level expertise, what they're saying, is very, very important because they have more risk. I guess what I'm saying is they have more risk if they come out and talk about a brand or a service or a product. And I think people understand this. People
Joe,
understand.
just to make sure we all get it.
Yeah.
The difference between a creator marketer and an influencer, and give us an example or two of where's the line between creator marketing and influencer? Because aren't creator marketers, once they really are dug in on something, like, I'm an expert on making sales for sailboats or something, and do I then not become an influencer? Like, where's the difference?
Yeah, look, there's overlap.
Okay.
Right? Obviously there's overlap. So, and I'm not advocating for one or the other. They all serve different purposes, but I'll give you an analogy
do it.
That might clear it up. So if you look at the restaurant business, okay,
Yeah.
Stay with me.
I'm with you.
Stay with
You're
me.
only one sentence in, and I'm totally with you on that one side.
Italians, okay? Stay with me. So if you think of influencers like they're the food critics, right? They go from restaurant to restaurant to restaurant, and the value of a food critic is in their visibility, right? In their exposure. If you think of creators as the chefs, right? The chefs, they own the restaurant. Every dish carries their name, right? If the meal disappoints, then they're going to lose a customer the next day. And the celebrity is like a franchise brand, right? And they're licensing their name out, and their name's on the building, but they're totally insulated, right, from day-to-day failure. So influencers are like critics, creators are like chefs. They actually know stuff. And the celebrities are just sticking their name on something.
Hey, Joe, I love the restaurant analogy. Let me ask one clarifying question on that. If I am the New York Times food critic and I say, go eat at Perello's fine dining establishment, and I go there and I think it's no good, am I still an influencer, or am I essentially crossing over into creator on that? Like, how do I draw?
No, you're still an influencer because your business model is based on trashing Linton's restaurant the next week.
Yes, well, okay,
right. So you've got them all lined up.
So I don't have to be as right as an influencer as I do on a creator, but that says inherent in that is
you got it right.
The more narrow the creator.
Yeah,
the more risk the creator takes.
On the line. They're on the line every day. If they, maybe they get a pass if they recommend a crappy product. They do it twice, right? And they're done.
Give me an example of a creator that isn't an analogy, but it's a real one that people
real one.
want to.
I'll give a great example, right? If it's okay, I'll use one of our clients as an example.
I figured you probably would. Yeah, I was testing that was going to happen.
I only know how to do one thing.
I think
This
one
is
of your
all I
clients,
try to do.
if you didn't use one of your clients, they'd be kind of peeved. So go ahead.
Yeah, this is all I know how to do. AAA is one of our big clients, right?
Okay.
And everybody knows who AAA is.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we discovered, which shouldn't be a shock, is that when you publish stories about road trips and adventure travel, that is the best way to get someone to consider becoming a AAA member, right? It's not that complicated. Road trips, van life, that whole thing. So we found this great creator. His name is JR Switchgrass. And his job is to drive across the country in a van with his girlfriend. And he documents his whole life. He's a fantastic creator. He lives road trips, so he's a subject matter expert. But he doesn't have like 1 million followers or even 500,000 followers. He's just really good at driving across the country. Someone perfect for a road trip story that is perfect for AAA. And when you take the distribution away from the creator, you now can just focus on high quality storytelling. When you have to merge them together, like you do with influencers, right? You have to consider the creator, the content they make and the people who are going to see it in the same equation. With creators, you're not doing that. You're taking the distribution out because you're going to handle the distribution. You're going to buy the paid media. You're going to do all that.
I see. So when the creator starts making a ton of money being a creator,
yeah,
how do they stay true to the creator ethos and not become thrown over to the influencer? Because I know your belief.
Some of them don't.
I'm sorry.
Some of them don't. Some of them.
All right.
They go over to the other side and they're like, I would rather, I don't care Joe Schmo. I don't care what he says. I want to go do a deal with Pepsi. That's fine. But many of them do.
So as a marketer, when I'm looking at this and I say, all right, here's the creators that, I have, how do I know there's probably a lot of ways to figure out what creator is right for you, but how do I know when the creator has lost the audience and become a for sale influencer?
How do we know that?
Well, just give our users some kind of yardstick for saying, all right, I had Joe, he was a great creator about New York City, and then he got to be so famous in New York City that he has sold out.
So he is inauthentic, right? You're asking me, how do you know if they're?
How do you know? Yeah, how do you know? Like when your RV person has become so big that they're not a creator anymore. They're actually a brand unto themselves.
Mike, it depends on what story you're asking them to tell. That's the easiest way to answer this question. So someone who has crossed over may still be able to tell an authentic story, provided it is in parallel with their personality, their expertise, sort of what they do. If you let's imagine that Bob Vila was an influencer, because we all know who Bob Vila is, right?
I'm not sure everybody does, but he does a lot with homes.
He created This Old House, he redoes houses, and he's famous for redoing old houses. In a TV show, if you ask him and paid him, $10 million to talk about makeup, it would be very inauthentic because the guy doesn't own anything except a flannel shirt, right? So you follow me? Like if you paid him $10 million to talk about how the Pro counter at Home Depot is amazing, that works. So it depends on what story you're asking the creator or the influencer to tell. And if you stick to their expertise, they will appreciate you more because they don't want to bullshit either, right? They want to be true to who they are. And so you've got to stick to their expertise.
Hey, thank you for that. I want to talk about all three of these together and how brands should think about it. But I want to start is, do consumers really get this distinction? I want to start large and say, if you look at the Super Bowl reel, there's so many celebrities and borrowed interest in that. A lot of times you have multiple, Matthew McConaughey, Snoop Dogg, Matthew McConaughey, Bradley Cooper in a single ad. Those are all celebrities. Do consumers get the difference between creators, influencers, and celebrities, or is that just marketers?
I think once the mass of people know who an influencer is, they have merged into celebrity.
Yeah.
So I don't think they are understanding the nuance the way I am describing it, because I am describing it from a business model POV and from a marketer's POV, less so a consumer's POV. In terms of the Super Bowl, right? The Super Bowl is an exception, right? In every sense of the word.
Yeah.
It is the only place you can reach an exceptionally large number of people at the same time, except for maybe other live sporting events and maybe the award shows. Otherwise, what else?
Still not even close to the Super Bowl.
Right, it's not even close, right? So that's an exception. What other show are the commercials part of the show?
Yeah,
None.
that's fair.
There's none. So this is part of the show. There's like the NFL is putting on one show and all the brands are putting on another show.
All right, let me rephrase my question then, because that wasn't as good as it should have been. If I'm sitting there in my, running a marketing shop, should I be looking at all three of these things? Influencers, celebrities, and content creators. Like,
Absolutely.
How do I decide my brand or my business needs any combination of these three things?
Absolutely. You should, if you can identify or associate yourself with a credible celebrity who adds value to your story, right? And adds credibility and of course adds exposure. And you think that because of that celebrity, people are going to become aware of you or even trust you faster than they would without it, because that's what a celebrity is there for, then you should do it. If you have the patience to find a hit with an influencer, because that's the business. The influencer business is the hit business, right? You're in the hit business and you've got to do a lot of deals with a lot of influencers and hopefully 1 or 10 hit. If you have the patience and the systems to do that, you should do an influencer strategy. If you pick the right ones, it's great. But it's sort of like PR, you can't predict it when it's going to happen. If you want to be in the business of driving belief every day, and you want to take on the obligation of distributing that message, which selfishly I think is the better way to do it, then you should be in the creator business because you have more control. And of those three, the easiest one to measure is you recruit creators and you promote the content and you measure you measure how it performs, and you can easily convince your CFO that the marketing investment was worth it. Harder to do with celebrities and harder to do with influencers.
Because if I hire the right chef and I'm selling a certain creator thing like RV trips, I have a narrow audience. It's not like people are accidentally showing up to watch this. I have an audience that is hardwired into the topic versus hardwired into the person.
Yes.
How do I know if that's right for my brand? Is it better if I have a specific type of product or a high emotional involved product versus, Joe Perello is a great creator for paperclip usage or something?
Yeah, I think that if you're in the commodity business, you probably need to do, 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah.
If your product is like every other product, save for your brand, then you need to be in 2 or 3 of those: creators, influencers, and celebrities. And then your budget is going to determine which ones you can be in. And, and look, celebrity is the most expensive because you need to pay the celebrity and pay to promote it.
Right.
Influencers is you don't know which one's going to work.
Yeah.
Creators is a function of your media budget because you don't really have to pay creators a lot of money, but you've got to take on the burden of
Getting the creators
benefit
up.
of promoting
I mean,
them. Yeah, and promoting them, right? But that comes with measurability. So if you're a commodity business, you need to be in 2 of those 3. If you're in a specialty business where the product is the story,
Yeah.
and
Give me an example of a specialty business.
Tesla, right? Like
Okay.
3 years ago,
Yeah.
Tesla was the story.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe that a car can do all these things is the story? Like they were undifferentiated. I mean, they were highly differentiated, right? For a long time. And still today, you could make the case that Tesla is highly differentiated. So if the product is the story, then you don't need to rely on these things.
Okay. Okay. So, Joe, who is doing creative marketing well that is not one of your clients? Give us a from the market example of somebody that you have worked your magic with.
I will. The best companies are the ones that delegate authority, some authority, right? They allow the creators to speak their own voice. They publish stories, not sales pitches, right? They may or may not use.
Yeah, like who? Give our listeners some examples they can go look at.
I mean, the blog on Patagonia is one of the reasons why I got into this business.
Tell me.
The blog on Patagonia is not about Patagonia. It's about camping, the environment, adventure, right? It is not about Patagonia in any way.
Yeah.
And it is all written by credible people who know how to ice fish, right? Expert campers. Patagonia is why I got into this, because they did it so well. Like I wanted to do journalism, but also direct marketing. And they're the ones that did it. Now they didn't put it all together, right? The way we eventually did, but those are the guys that do it great, because they don't ask their creators to talk about Patagonia. They just tell amazing stories about what they know Patagonia customers want to read about.
And
Just go to their blog. It's the best.
And circling back to how we started this whole chat, this allows consumers to trust them more because the brand is secondary to the content, and the creator is the content. Is that a fair?
I mean, Mike, it's just natural to human interactions, right? When you meet someone, you find common ground before you go a step further and maybe, ask them to hear a business pitch or ask them out on a date. Like you just establish common ground, and the minimum amount of trust is all we're saying. We're not saying, never talk about your brand. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying just start a little bit of a conversation with someone.
I think I got to ask one extra question before we get to our traditional last question. Do you have a way of measuring trust that works? Or is trust still generally a field thing? Because you can measure sales, I can measure traffic. You can measure a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. But
I mean, we have proxies.
give me
We
a
have
couple
proxies,
proxies.
right? The proxies are pretty basic, direct marketing or performance marketing proxies. Like the first one is click-through rate, right?
Yeah.
Did someone a click-through rate and they didn't leave the page? So you click on something, right? A story for Donut Yosemite. The story loads. It was what we said it was going to be, and you stayed on the page. That is a minimum level of trust, right? That we have established. The second is, did you drop off after reading it for a certain amount of time? That's not a pure measurement of trust, because maybe the content stunk, right? So it's more of trying to find performance marketing metrics that could indicate a high level of trust. And most of that is a form of what we call drop off. Did you click but not stay? Did you stay but not buy? And when you measure those rates of who you got there but who eventually bought, there's two factors. One is response rate was good and the trust was there. If the response rate's really good and the conversion rate is stinky, one of the reasons why is it could be the content stunk or the product stunk, but also trust could be really low. So it's not perfect. There are proxies, and over the long, over years and years and years, you can use these proxies as an indicator of trust.
So engagement is a proxy for trust, and if you get stinky numbers, that's very bad. So
stinky numbers bad.
Okay, there you have it. You heard it here first on CMO Confidential. That brings us to our traditional last question, which Joe knows well. Practical advice and or funniest story you would like to share with our listeners. Obviously, funniest story you can tell on the air. You can take one or both, but you must take at least one. And the practical advice is what we haven't talked about before.
Okay, I'll try and tell you a funny story, and then together we can find our way to practical advice with it.
Okay.
So I was CMO of the city of New York, right? We did a $166 million deal with Snapple.
Right.
We made them the official.
That's a lot of Snapple, man.
That's a lot of Snapple. This is all money, Mike. This is all money. We didn't get paid in Snapple. But we did something really good. We replaced all the soda, carbonated soft drinks that were in public schools with water and apple juice. And we also vending machines everywhere we could in the city. The city's big. All that money funded middle school sports.
Yeah.
Right. And it gave us a tourism budget. For the first time, we're now funneling the city's money into a marketing campaign that eventually drove 50 million visitors a year. So it's a very good deal, very Bloomberg-esque deal, right? All business. We bundled the city assets together, and we delivered real value for Snapple, which is why they were willing to pay us that much money. So they wanted to do a big activation in Union Square, right? They're launching some new, frozen popsicle flavor. And they said, this is like May. And they're like, we're going to create a massive popsicle in Union Square. And I was like, well, that involves ice. They're like, no, we have this material that is going to not melt. It looks like a popsicle. We pump it into this mold and it stays in there and it's going to be good for a day. And I was like, great. Sounds awesome. So they were wrong. We close off Union Square, right? I have the cops, I got DOT, I got fire guys. We really wanted to show Snapple that, look, you got the city of New York as a partner. We're going to deliver, baby.
And we have surrounded this popsicle with all of our services.
Police escorts, man. We have this place covered. They put the popsicle up in Union Square. The park is closed and people.
How big is this popsicle? Like 100 feet, 50 feet?
Oh, it was like many stories high, like figure 2 stories, 3 stories high.
Okay, so we're talking like
yeah.
50 feet.
Yeah, like 25,
Popsicle.
50 feet up in the air.
Okay.
And long story short, the freaking thing melts. It doesn't hold up. It doesn't work. And Mike, there were like tens of thousands of gallons of this. Like, it was like Jello with sand in it that just, it totally took over all of Union Square. And I was obviously hugely embarrassed. We cleaned it up. I had to bring in
And did you arrest the Popsicle for malfeasance?
I'm on the phone with sanitation, clean this whole thing up. Huge failure. But the next day, the New York Post, puts this on like page 2.
Well,
I was like, at least we didn't have the cover.
yeah.
The New York Post, page 2. We get this huge outpouring, and nobody actually like gave us any crap. Like, they all thought it was like, yeah, stupid Snapple. But Snapple was so beloved as a New York brand that everybody sort of gave us a pass. Like, nobody really gave us any crap. Nobody really said, you idiots, I can't believe this. The press was like one day hit. New York Post was like, those guys, what are they doing? They blah, blah, blah. And that was all over. It was done.
I can't believe The Onion didn't pick that up as a headline story.
Oh, well. Those guys have said other things about me at the time that I won't repeat.
Sure they have. All right. Well, I this is the first time we have ever discussed a 50-foot popsicle on the show. So, Joe, thank you for breaking through. I think that is a great way to end the show. Thanks for joining us, Joe, and thanks to everyone for listening to CMO Confidential. New shows drop every Tuesday, and you can find our entire catalog of more than 160 shows on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, which include Agency Economics in the Age of AI, Marketing at Meta, The View from the Eye of the Storm, Your Customers Aren't as Loyal as you think they are, The Fragile Nature of Loyalty, and Joe's first show, What I Learned as the first ever CMO for New York City, working for Michael Bloomberg. Hey, all you marketers, stay safe out there. This is Mike Linton signing off for CMO Confidential. Typeface is changing the way to think about brand marketing at scale. Their marketing orchestration engine is the first of its kind and built specifically for the enterprise. The orchestration engine uses shared brand intelligence, designed to turn brand guidelines into personalized voice, visuals, and messaging delivered in a way that fits the context of your audience. It's how brands like ASICS and Post Holdings scale what works without sacrificing quality. Start orchestrating your brand at typeface.ai/CMO.